Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopal Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Yamuna Mai ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shama Veta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Prem Anande.
Hari Bol.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glory to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Vishnu Padaya Krishaya Bhutare Shri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharini Nirbhishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Gopi Manohar. Can you read the translation? Or are you? Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
The two lords, Nitai Gaurchandra, are very merciful. They are the essence of all incarnations. The specific significance of these incarnations is that they introduced a process of chanting and dancing that is simply joyful. You want me to read the next one?
Yeah, continue.
My dear brother, I request that you worship Lord Chaitanya and Nityananda with firm conviction and faith. If one wants to be Krishna conscious by this process, one has to give up his engagement in sense gratification. One simply has to chant Hare Krishna, Hare Hare without any motive. My dear brother, just try and examine this. Within the three worlds, there is no one like Lord Chaitanya or Lord Nityananda. Their merciful qualities are so great that upon hearing them, even birds and beasts cry and stones melt. But Lochana Dasa regrets that I am entrapped by sense gratification. Since I have no attraction for the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, then Yamaraja, the superintendent of death, is punishing me by not allowing me to be attracted by this movement.
Thank you. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
We're reading, studying, discussing Sri Caitanya Caritamrita. We're in the chapter of the expansions and branches of the tree of Lord Nityananda, and we're being introduced and we're meeting all the important devotees of Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda, Advaita, Prabhu, Vedanta. So here, this is the Nityananda Prabhu's followers. We're getting the opportunity to meet them. There's a verse that says, later we'll see, that says just by hearing the names of and remembering these devotees, one becomes elevated in love of Lord Chaitanya. So that's something I like to keep in mind. Text 54.
Vrindavan Dash Narayanir Nandan.
চৈতন্য মঙ্গল যেহ করিল রচন।
Vrindavan Das Thakur, the son of Srimati Narayani, composed Sri Chaitanya Mangal, later known as Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. How come they changed the name?
Because the two names are the same, like Chaitanya Mangal, there was another Chaitanya Mangal.
Oh, really?
Written by, I forgot.
Lochan Das?
Is that?
Lochan Das?
Yes, Lochan Das Thakur,
Lochan Das Thakur and Vrindavan.
whose song we just sang, by the way. He composed that song. So, yeah. So, at the time of Vrindavan Das Thakur's writing, he initially entitled it Sri Chaitanya Mangal, but then later, I'm coming to understand that Lochan Das Thakur had already written a book called that with that name. He changed it to Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. Text 55.
Just to remind, I think last time you had said you would read something.
It'll be. Yes.
Sorry.
Thank you. I didn't forget. But thank you for reminding me.
Sorry. ভাগবতে কৃষ্ণ লীলা বর্ণিলা বেদ ব্যাস, চৈতন্য লীলাতে ব্যাস, বৃন্দাবন দাস।
Srila Vyasadeva described the pastimes of Krishna in Srimad Bhagavatam. The Vyas of the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Vrindavan Das. Purport. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur was an incarnation of Vedvyas and also a friendly cowherd boy named Kusumapida in Krishna Lila. In other words, the author of Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, the son of Srivas Thakur's niece, Narayani, was a combined incarnation of Ved Vyas and the cowherd boy, Kusamapida. There is a descriptive statement by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur in his commentary on Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, giving the biographical details of the life of Vrindavan Das Thakur. I think that's what you're referring to, right? Yes. Om Gyanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Nama Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Svayam Rupagadamahyam Dadati Shapandantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'd like to ask permission from all devotees, and particularly those who are senior by age or advancement in Krishna consciousness. So, shall we read that? It's in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. There are different versions, translations. There's a translation of the Chaitanya Bhagavat that was serialized in some of the harmonist and other literatures that the Gaudiya Math produced in the 1920s and 30s. So although it was not completed, so a devotee named Bhumipati, ISKCON devotee, he translated when necessary those parts of the Chaitanya Bhagavat for us. So here I have that. It begins the whole Chaitanya Bhagavat written and commented on by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur begins with that life sketch of the author of Vrindavan Das Thakur, which I'll read now. It's about 2.5 pages, 3 pages. And if you have a question along the way, feel free to raise your hand. Hopefully I'll see it. Usually when you raise your hand, it comes on the top board. So hopefully it does. Okay. There's an ancient village called Mamagachi, located under the Purvasthali subdivision on the eastern side of the Burdwan district. Burdwan is the district in India, at least in Bengal and other places. Districts are what we call in the United States what?
Counties.
Counties, yeah, counties. So the Burdwan district, yeah. According to the elder people, as well as the author of Bhakti Ratnakara, this village of Mamagachi is the area of Navadvip known as Modadrum Dvip. You know, there's how many islands there in Navadvip?
9.
Yeah, 9, yeah. And the central island, what's the central island name? It's like a lotus flower, and there's a central, there's like this whirl of that. Go ahead.
Antardvip.
Antardvip. Yeah, who said that? Oh, they lost him. Antardvip.
Yeah.
That's where Mayapur is, in Antardvip, and then there's Madhya Dvip, Kola Dvip, Ritu Dvip, Danu Dvip, and Modadum Dvip is one of those 9 islands. Rudra Dvip. The ISKCON property, which we call Mayapur, is on the island of.
I thought it's an Antardvip.
Who said that?
Krishna Kirtan.
Krishna Kirtan Prabhu. Yeah, the Lord Chaitanya's birth site is on Antardvip, that's Mayapur. But if you walk from the ISKCON property to the Yoga Pit, Lord Chaitanya's birth site, you cross a little river. You know that?
Oh, that's the river?
It's a little, not a big one, but a little one. Yeah. So that's one of the divisions. So actually the ISKCON property is in Rudra Dvip. Rudra Dvip. So some people, they mentioned to Srila Prabhupada, well, how come you don't have it on Antardvip? And Prabhupada said, that's okay. Birth and activities are more important than the birth. So Rudra Dvip, Lord Chaitanya had many of his activities in Rudra Dvip. So that was his response to that concern. Okay, so this is what island was Vrindavan Das Thakur born on?
But it's with him. Okay.
Madadrum?
Yes, Modadrum Dvip. And if we read the Navadvip Dham Mahatmya, each of these islands, they have many pastimes of incarnations of the Lord involving, taking place on these different islands. That Navadvip Dham Mahatmya was written by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Okay, so Modadrum Dvip is where the town of Mamagachi is. The Ganges River flows on the side of Mamagachi. Vrindavan Das Thakur's worshipable deity of Sri Sri Gaur Nitai are worshipped in this village even today. It is said that Vrindavan Das Thakur was born in this village, and in this village, one can still find Vrindavan Das Thakur's house, where he grew up as a child. Maybe some of you have gone there. No, okay. The father of Srivas Pandit's wife, Malini Devi, lived in this village of Mamagachi. Srivas Pandit, the beloved devotee of Lord Gauranga, had a niece named Narayani Devi, who was married in this village. Malini Devi lived her final days in this village at her father's house. Narayani Devi was married to a member of Malini Devi's family. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur was born from the womb of Narayani. So you get the relationships? So Narayani was a niece of?
Srivas Thakur.
Srivas Thakur.
Yeah, Srivas Thakur. And it seems like she was on the mother's side, through the mother's side, because Srivas Thakur's wife's father, that's his house, right, in Mamagachi. You have different names for the father-in-law on the mother's side and the father's side. Is it in Hindi or Bengali? Do you? We just say father-in-law, right? Well, like if you're married and you have your father-in-law on the wife's side, and if your wife has the father-in-law is on the husband's side, right?
Mama.
Both sides both sides.
No.
Father-in-law is same on both sides.
And oh yeah, both? Okay, I don't know.
Shoshur is Bengali, Sasur is Hindi.
Sasur is Hindi.
Okay, that's
Mama is
the
in
father.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, yeah, that was Malini Devi, Srivas Thakur's father. So this is back to Vrindavan Das Thakur. Since he lost his father early in his childhood, and his father left his body before being engaged in the service of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the topics about his father are not mentioned anywhere. Some people say that because his father did not fully take shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Hari, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur was not identified through his paternal dynasty. So that's very interesting. Usually one thinks of, the father's family becomes, how you trace. But here, because the father wasn't known to be a devotee of Lord Chaitanya or had yet become a devotee of Lord Chaitanya, they trace Vrindavan Das Thakur through his maternal family. Maternal family becomes more glorified in this case. Although the deities of Sri Sri Gaur Nitai installed by Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur at the house of Malini Devi in Mamagachi have been shifted and are being served at another place, the service is not adequately prosperous and bright. Okay. So they're no longer there. Those specific deities, even though they have some other deities, those specific deities worshipped by Vrindavan Das Thakur are no longer there in the house. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur spent a lot of time at Denduda. I don't know where that is. We have never heard of Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur's married life. Among his 4 disciples, Sri Ram Hari, who hailed from a Kshatriya family of North Radhadesh, he was appointed by Vrindavan Das Thakur as the sole heir of his assets at Denduda. His descendants still live at the house of Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur in Denduda and continue serving their lordships. So that was the one of the 4 disciples, Sri Ram Hari of Vrindavan Das Thakur. Although Ram Hari was a pure devotee and duly initiated, due to the prominence of smarta practices, his descendants were forced to give up their traditional spiritual practices and follow smarta principles. You know what smarta principles we're talking? Anybody? Krishna Kirtan Prabhu, come on.
Smartha Brahman principles, right? You're talking about?
Yeah.
Yes, Smartha Brahman is basically, they also consider birth by birth qualification by birth, and
Yes.
also very strict on their, rigid on their rules, regulations, I believe.
Yes, they have thousands of
Rituals.
punctiliousness, little rules according to marriage and everything. In India, there's 4 general varnas: Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. But there's unlimited subcastes or subvarnas, as people say, subcastes, and the rules and regulations about who can marry whom and all that stuff is very, very complex. But that's been especially promulgated by the Smartas. But also the Smartas they're generally they are Mayavadis, and that they said they worship 5 gods, Panchopashana. They usually, and so they equate Vishnu with Durga, Shiva, Ganesh, and Surya. So they're basically Mayavadis. So it's interesting that the descendants of Vrindavan Das Thakur's disciple Ramahari, they were induced by the Smartas to do the forced to give up their traditional spiritual practices, which we'll find later means they had to put demigod worship of the demigods on the same level as worship of Krishna, of Lord Chaitanya, or worship of Radha Krishna. So how did they how did those Smartas exert their power over them? I don't know. But we see a similar thing happens also nowadays. For example, sometimes you'll go to a Hindu temple and they've employed a Brahmin pujari, oftentimes from the Ramanuja Sampradaya, the Sri Sampradaya, which are the Sri Sampradaya, they're Vaishnavas, pure Vaishnavas. And if you go to a Sri Sampradaya temple, they generally, their worship is mainly of Vishnu, nothing else. In fact, there was one famous Sri Sampradaya Brahmin who now took sannyas. His name is Dr. Venkat. I don't know his sannyas name, but we were discussing, and he was saying he's from the Sri Sampradaya. He has a temple up in Pomona, New York. So he was saying, there's Gaudiya Sampradaya and Sri Sampradaya. They're very, very, very similar. The only difference between the Sri Sampradaya, Ramanuja Sampradaya, and the Gaudiya Sampradaya is, in the Sri Sampradaya, we don't worship any demigods. But in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, you do. What do you think of that? What do you make of that?
The recent, when we say, so you'll find some of the pujaris, they come to different temples, is they are looking for basically employment. Very simple.
Yes.
And they don't agree, but just because the employer says, and they have to do, like that's that's why many times this pujari, when they look at us, they feel a little guilty because we know what they are doing and they know what we are thinking.
Yes, that's true. So somewhere by some of the arrangements that are made, whoever the person in charge or who has influence in that particular temple, they make them worship like that, although it's not according to their training or their beliefs, their determination. So what do you Mother Nilambari there? I see your hand
So
up.
Prabhuji, in Gaudiya temple, what kind of demigod do we worship? We don't do any demigod worship.
Well, that was my question to you. That's what he said. He said he made this point. So in Gaudiya Sampradaya, you sometimes worship, it's sometimes allowed to worship them, but not in the Ramanuja Sampradaya. He was very, very, very strong on that.
But what
we don't worship any in the temple. We don't worship any demigod, but they have said that we do. Is that the point?
He didn't say. Good point. You pointed out. You got a little bit. He didn't say that we worship in the temple. But the Acharya Prabhu has his hand up. He has the answer.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but I know in Hari Bhakti Vilas there is some allowance for worshiping Ganesh as an introduction to worshiping Vishnu and such things, but Prabhupada didn't want it or allow it. But there is some, allowance for it in Gaudiya tradition, specifically in Hari Bhakti Vilas.
Yes. So then I objected also, just like Mother Nilambari, and I didn't have this quote of from Hari Bhakti Vilas, but so he said, oh no, the gopis, they worship goddess Katyayani. Why?
Get Krishna as their husband.
Yes. So in rare instances you find that. So actually, but the Vrindavan Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says actually they were worshiping Yogamaya, not Katyayani. But anyway, but to get Krishna as their husband, if you can get Krishna as your husband by worshiping a demigod, go ahead. That was their idea. But rare instance. But he said in the Ramanuja Sampradaya not allowed. But anyway, as Krishna Kirtan Prabhu pointed out, yeah, sometimes you'll find that the pujaris are coming from a pure Ramanuja Sri Sampradaya background, but because of the circumstances when they come here, they're employed, and whoever's the person in charge of the temple or paying for the temple or paying their salary, they make them worship the other gods like that. Okay, those are smartas. They're usually included in the different levels of prakritya sahajas.
And
Although, go ahead.
Vishnugada Prabhu, I think I recall we were reading somewhere about this, where Prabhupada said, we don't worship, but we respect all the demigods.
Good point. Yes. If Lord Shiva or Mother Durga showed up at your door, you'd certainly give them respect, no question about it. And any of the great demigods, because they're devotees of Vishnu. Sure. Good point.
In the form, and I think you had said it could be in the form of the Brahma Samhita prayer.
Yes, Srila Prabhupada talks about that in that purport there, that to properly worship them, this is those prayers. For example, for Mother Durga, the Brahma Samhita, Shristi Stiti Pralaya Sadhana Shakti Reka Chayeva Yashya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga Ichjanu Rupamapi Yashya Chitesh. She is the shadow potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I worship Govinda, who's Durga is that, who maintains Shristi, who creates, maintains, and annihilates things in the material world. Thank you. Although there's not much information about the paternal family of Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, it is understood that he appeared in a Brahmin family of Radhadesh. Since his maternal family members were staunch followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the greatest householder Vaishnavas, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur is known through his relation among the Vaishnavas and in Gaudiya literature. Through this relation among the Vaishnavas. Again, Vrindavan Das Thakur, the son of Narayani, had great knowledge of devotional scriptures and was always engaged in preaching the glories of Vaishnava acharyas with his mind, body, and speech. The society of Smartas was opposed to the Vaishnavas and envious of Lord Nityananda. As such, they neglected Sri Vrindavan Das, the servant of Nityananda, and did not give him a very high position in their society. In fact, they did not even refrain from slandering his family background. Just before Sri Gaurasundar left Navadvip, Narayani Devi, the mother of Vrindavan Das, was only 4 years old. Till then, she had been nourished by Sri Chaitanya Chandra's affectionate glance. Later, she lived with her husband in the house of Malini's father, where she raised her jewel-like son, Vrindavan Das Thakur up to the 10th year. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, it is when he left Navadvip. So what year was that?
24.
Yeah, his 24th year. So it would be 1486 plus 24 would be 1510, right? 1486 is Lord Chaitanya's appearance. So 1510. So that means Narayani Devi was born in 1506. And so she was nourished by his glances, but also we'll find elsewhere in Caitanya Caritamrita, Lord Chaitanya used to give her the remnants of his food. So that must have happened when she was just a baby or a little child infant prior to 4 years old, because then he left that area. So some people will find later also in the Caitanya Caritamrita, the Smartas, what they Srila Bhaktisiddhanta is referring to is they say that, oh, Lord Chaitanya gave her the remnants of his food, and then she became pregnant. That's what they say. Some Smartas. So how can you become pregnant at 4 years old? Come on. So this is they make up things to cast aspersions on Lord Chaitanya and the followers of Lord Chaitanya, like Vrindavan Das Thakur. Although you could take it the other way, that if it happened that way, it's pretty miraculous. Still, that wasn't their purpose. Their purpose was to malign Vrindavan Das Thakur. Okay. Vrindavan Das Thakur, under the influence of the Smartas, many less intelligent Prakrita Sahajias of the Radha Desh considered that Vrindavan Das Thakur was not a Brahmin. Actually, Vrindavan Das Thakur was a genuine, pure, topmost Brahmin who did not accept subordination to the materialistic Smarta community. So they didn't like him because he didn't accept their version of mixed or misguided spiritual life. Those who have studied Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, composed by this great soul, certainly know that Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur was the topmost preacher of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy of pure devotional service. Yet, when Radharaman, the son of Madhusudan, the son of Balaram, the son of Advaita Prabhu, we'll find out later, we'll read next chapter that Advaita Prabhu had 6 sons. 3 were devotees and 3 were Smartas, or Mayavadis. So this Balaram was one of the 3 Smarta people. He accepted subordination of Sri Harihara Bhattacharya's son, who lived at Badagadha. When Sri Birachandra Prabhu's 3 disciples were celebrated as his sons, were compelled by the intimidation of the Smartas to place Durga, the wife of Tripurari, on the same throne just next to Shamsundar, when the marriage between Ganga Thakurani and a member of the Virendra caste was included in the Gangopadhyay caste. We were talking about all these different subcastes. These are different subcastes within the Brahmins, and thus socially approved in Radha Desh. And when Nityananda Prabhu, who hailed from a Matila Brahmin caste, married into the Starakaila caste of Vadagachi, Radha Desh, and at the same time accepted Udharan Thakur as a properly initiated Brahmin, these activities created various obstacles in Vrindavan Das Thakur's propagation of the glories of the Vaishnava community. So we read a couple of weeks ago about Udharan Das Thakur being a very exalted Vaishnava, and these marriages, the marriages here, because they were not accepted by the smartas. They looked down on their someone who had marriage in between these subcastes, which not according to their rules, they rejected Lord Nityananda and many of his followers. Does that make sense? Yes, no, maybe so. I don't know. Okay, all right. So Vrindavan Das Thakur was among those because he was associated with all those people. Still, they were not able to stop the foremost devotee of Gaur, for whom Nityananda was his life and soul, the brilliant sun-like personality of Gaudiya literature. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur, from writing the truth of Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. Those who have studied Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat with full attention cannot be misguided from Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur's presentation of the truth, which destroys all illusion. So there's a little more. And then there's Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur quotes many of the verses from Caitanya Caritamrita. There's dozens of them which glorify Vrindavan Das Thakur for his being an exalted devotee of Lord Nityananda and for compiling Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, also then known as Sri Chaitanya Mangal, etc. So, Krishnadas Kaviraj, he said that he was just taking the remnants of food, the crumbs left by Vrindavan Das Thakur in order to present the Sri Chaitanya Caritamrita, which we're reading. So technically, the Vrindavan Das Thakur's Chaitanya Bhagavat elaborates more fully on the early pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, mostly the pastimes in Navadvip. And he also goes into the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya after he left Navadvip when he traveled to Puri and afterwards. But those he didn't extensively categorize and discuss. So for the later pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we'll find that in the Caitanya Caritamrita by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So for example, some of the early pastimes of Lord Chaitanya that we don't find in the Caitanya Caritamrita, but which are very important, which you know any of those?
I'm not sure if it's included in the Chaitanya Caritamrita, but when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was a baby and he would eat the prasad,
He would
that
cry.
his mother,
He would cry. Oh, he ate the prasadam. Say he ate dirt. Yes, that one was. That's in the Chaitanya Caritamrita. It's also there. I was thinking of, the pastime of Lord Chaitanya liberating Jagai Madai. So it's very, very important. That's Patita Pavana Hetu Tavavatar. This is or Narottam Das Thakur says, just see, you have come to deliver, and just see, Jagai Madhai is the proof of your delivering the most fallen. So that Jagai Madhai pastime, we find just very, briefly mentioned, not elaborately described, but it's elaborately described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Make sense? Like that. So, okay. Okay. Questions, comments? Vrindavan Das Thakur.
Vrindavan Das Thakur.
Yeah, so I said it'll say we remember or say the names. It brings us love of Lord Chaitanya. Okay, Vrindavan Das Thakur. Okay, next.
সর্বশাখা শ্রেষ্ঠ বীরভদ্র গোসাই, তার উপশাখা যত তার অন্ত নাই.
Amongst all the branches of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, Virabhadra Goswami was the topmost. His sub-branches were unlimited. Do you remember who Virabhadra Goswami was? Anybody? Who's Virabhadra?
Nityananda Prabhu's son.
Yes. Nityananda Prabhu's son by his the younger wife, or the Vasuda, not Janavi. Yes. Text 57.
অনন্ত নিত্যানন্দগণ কে করু গণন আত্মপবিত্রতা হেতু লিখিলাম কতজন।
No one can count the unlimited followers of Nityananda Prabhu. I have mentioned some of them just for my self-purification. So that's our business, try to self-purify by speaking about transcendental subject matters. Yeah. Text 58.
এই সর্বশাখা পূর্ণ পক্ক প্রেম ফলে যারে দেখে তারে দিয়া ভাষাইল সকলে।
All these branches, the devotees of Lord Nityananda Prabhu, being full of ripened fruits of love of Krishna, distributed these fruits to all they met, flooding them with love of Krishna.
অনর্গল প্রেম সবার চেষ্টা অনর্গল প্রেম দিতে কৃষ্ণ দিতে ধরে মহাবল।
All these devotees had unlimited strength to deliver unobstructed, unceasing love of Krishna. By their own strength, they could offer anyone Krishna and love of Krishna. Purport. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has sung, Krishna she tomar, Krishna dite par, tomar shakati ache. You know what that means? What does that mean?
Krishna is yours. Krishna said to me,
Krishna se tomar, Krishna is yours, yeah.
Sakati Ache, I would become your friends or something.
You have the power, Shakati. You have the power to give him to me. This is a prayer to Gurudev, I believe, isn't this? Is it Gurudev?
Yeah. Is that or Vaishnava Thakur? No.
Or is it Ohe Vaishnav Thakur? I'm making mistakes there. Krishna se tomar, Krishna ditipa tomara shakati. In this song, Bhaktivinoda Thakur describes that a pure Vaishnava, as the proprietor of Krishna and love of Krishna, can deliver both to anyone and everyone he likes. Therefore, to get Krishna and love of Krishna, one must seek the mercy of pure devotees. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also says, Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasado, yasya prasada nagati kutopi. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one is blessed by the mercy of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. By the grace of a Vaishnav or bona fide spiritual master, one can get both love of Godhead, Krishna, and Krishna himself. They're very important point. When we read Srila Prabhupada, the Leela study, we've been starting with this prayer, the verse, one who says he's my devotee is actually not my devotee. How does that go?
ये में भक्त जना पार्थ न में भक्ताश्चते जना
Mad bhaktanam cha ye
मद
bhakta.
भक्तानाम च ये भक्ताश ते में भक्त तमामता।
Yeah. And the translation.
Lord Krishna says, those who are my devotees are actually not my devotees, but those who are a devotee of my devotee are factually my devotee.
Good. Very good. Very good. Yeah. And so to please the devotee, spiritual master, is the method to get Krishna's pleasure, Krishna's lotus feet. Prahlad Maharaj also said that you can't become Krishna conscious matirna Krishna paratasvatova by having conferences, going to seminars, personal efforts. No, how do you get Krishna consciousness? You have to take the dust of the devotee and put it on your head, he said, which means doing service, serve and pleasing the pure devotee. That's the method. So all these devotees here that we've mentioned in this chapter, they had that ability to deliver Krishna if they're pleased. One note here is this last verse of the Guru Vashtakam. Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasado yasya prasada nagati kutopi. What's the difference between the first half and the second half of that Sanskrit line? It sounds like sometimes people say it as it's the same thing. Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasado yasya prasada, by your mercy we get, and by your mercy we get. What's the difference between the first half and the second half? Do you understand the question? No. See the second half, you see the yasya? The yasya, go ahead, Sheshapati Govinda. Wow, we got a hand in there. Good. Prabhu.
Yeah, yes, Prabhu. Thank you. Yeah, Yasya Prasadat Bhagavat Prasada. So by Guru's mercy, I am getting the Krishna's mercy.
Bhagavat Prasada, yeah. And
Nagati Kutopi. So I don't have any, like, my life will become doomed without Guru's mercy. I don't have any gati object. Yeah.
So the difference between the two is, you see the yasya and there's a long A. The first one, yasya, there's a short A, right? Long A on the second part, short A the first. Yasya, by your mercy, yasya prashadat, by your mercy, Bhagavat prashado, I get the mercy of Bhagavat, God. Bhagavat means God. Yasya prashadat, and then yasya prashada, long A. Yasya prashada, not mercy. Aprashad means not mercy, right? Aprashad. So sometimes people say they kind of go with, so it does have meaning. So you're just changing a short A to a long A makes a big deal. There was a Brahmin who was doing a sacrifice, and they did one long A and made it a long A or short A, and they switched it, and the result came out differently because of this one change. So yasya prashadat bhagavat prasado, yasya prasada, not without your mercy, na gati, nowhere, no gati, I am nowhere, no gati. Gati means no, I'm not going to make any goal, any place. One cannot make any advancement. One will not make advancement on the spiritual path. Okay. Comments, questions? Krishna se tomar, Krishna dite pa tomar. Amitakan, oh yeah, Amitakangal, Krishna Daitava Pachi Pachi. Bhaktivinoda Thakur. 660.
সংক্ষেপে কহিলাম এই নিত্যানন্দগণ যাহার অবধি না পায় সহস্র বদন.
I have briefly described only some of the followers and devotees of Lord Nityananda Prabhu. Even the 1,000-mouthed Sheshanag cannot describe all of these unlimited devotees. So we know in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tatvata. Said, out of thousands of people, one may be endeavor for perfection. And of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one. Out of thousands of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me. So that's 1 in a million, right? 1,000 thousands is 1 in a million. But how come there's all these followers? This is all these followers of Lord Nityananda. Even the 1,000-mounted Sheshanaga cannot describe them all. So how do you resolve those two ideas? Anybody? You follow the question? Do you follow the question? No? Okay.
Can you repeat the question, Prabhuji?
Yeah. So Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, there's only one in a million persons who understand him in truth. But here in this verse, we're seeing that there's so many devotees, even the 1,000-mounted Sheshanaga can tell them all. You follow? So many devotees are there.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Considering the total population, it's significant, right? Amount, but it's maybe it's like 1 in a million.
Here
of the whole universe.
These devotees are coming. Most of them are coming from the spiritual world. So in the spiritual world, it's not 1 in a million. You follow?
Okay. Yes.
It's not 1 in a million. In this world, practically speaking, generally speaking, it's true that 1 in a million might understand Krishna, but in the spiritual world, that's not the case.
Yes.
Okay, just a point. Text 61.
Shri Rup Raghunath Pade Jar Ash Caitanya Caritamrita HG Vishnugada.
With an ardent desire to serve the purpose of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, I, Krishnadas, narrate Sri Caitanya Caritamrita following in their footsteps. Purport. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of Sri Caitanya Caritamrita Adi Lila 11th chapter in the matter of the expansions of Lord Nityananda. Hari Bol. Very good. Then we'll look at the next chapter. We're not going to start the next. Let's take a look at the next chapter. This is chapter 12, the expansions of Advaita Acharya and Gadadhar Pandit. So we're now about a month and 3 weeks, or a month and a half, almost 2 months before the advent of Lord Chaitanya, the appearance day of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, also known as Gaur Purnima. So hopefully we'll be able to finish chapter 12 in time to be discussing the appearance of Lord Chaitanya right at the time of his appearance anniversary, Gaur Purnima. Okay. Comments, questions, observations, corrections? So we'll start this next week, expansions of Advaita Acharya and Gadadhar Pandit. Okay, thank you. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavabhyo namo.
Hare Krishna.
Vrindavan Das Thakur ki jai. Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki
Yeah.
Thank you, Vishnugada Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna, Kavita, can you please
Prabhuji, thank you.